Hey guys, welcome to Two Split. Next gen consoles are here. We've played them for over 2 months now, ish, and we have a few thoughts. So if you're still on the fence, this might help. If not, tell someone else this might help. Let's go. Starting with the launch experience. I'm not talking about the ordering experience, which was terrible for both consoles, where we had bots buying everything where humans should be buying, and then scalpers started selling us the console at 10 times the price. Terrible. I'm talking about launch experience of what came out with the consoles that was supposed to be next gen, so that you could feel next gen. On the Xbox, well, nothing. There was just nothing. But it did give you a catalog going back to a big catalog, so if you had Game Pass, then you had nothing to worry about. You had a ton of games to play, so you wouldn't be bored. But there was no true next-gen official exclusive launching with the console to try out your new shiny toy. On the PlayStation side, they did have Astro's Playroom and Spider-Man Miles Morales. Astro's Playroom, try saying that fast, isn't a big AAA title, but it was designed to help you feel the experience of what they did with their controller, which we'll get into later. Then Miles Morales took advantage of the ray tracing, and don't get me wrong, there were third-party games that were upgraded to next-gen level, but they were not unique in terms of the experience of wanting to buy a new game for a new generation. So that's how launch went on both consoles. PlayStation had 1.5 titles, and Xbox had none, but a great backlog of catalogs to play on. Moving on to specs. The specs should be on the screen right about now. The Xbox ekes ahead in terms of pure raw processing power. It's a stronger machine on paper, but what we found is when we look at different people testing the machines, PlayStation tends to punch above its weight in certain categories where it should be lagging behind. I'm not going into the technicalities, but if you visit Digital Foundry, you will find some very interesting tests over there. So I'm not gonna, nerd you out with that. Moving on to design. So the Xbox Series X is a box. It's a nice long box, and that's not a bad thing. I think they kept it legit. I think it's sleek. I think it'll fit into any design style you have, and it'll fit into pretty much any home console. And when I mean console, your home media setup, it'll sit there, either not in anybody's face, or it'll stick out just enough to be noticed, but it'll still be cool. I cannot say the same for the PlayStation 5. I think I have it here. Yo, look at this thing. Look at this guy. See? Sony, I love Sony, but what were you thinking? So, I'm kidding. It's just really big, right? One, really big. I know I saw the teardown and all, so that the air flows. PlayStation, the Xbox is just as powerful, and it plays just as quiet and runs just as cool, so I'm sure they could have figured out better. Secondly, it won't fit into a lot of media setups, even sideways. It's just large. And then the actual design, if the goal was to polarize the crowd to say they love it or they hate it, good job, Sony. Because I don't know how to feel. If they were going for future forward, but cyberpunkish, I'm not sure. Comments below, let me know what you think about PlayStation design. Now let's talk about interface and load times. Next gen. Again, Xbox, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. They left the original tiles, so you're able to find what you want, and the tiles adapt to what you're playing. I think it works, it's cool. PlayStation switched it up a bit and separated the game tabs from the media tab, and allowed you go from where your games are stocked into whatever's happening in downloads. It's a new interface. It was confusing for the first couple of days, but I think a lot of people said it's intuitive for them. Not for me. I think it's all right. It looks pretty, but I'm used to holding that center button to go to get out of whatever it is I'm doing. It's sort of the same here, but there's a difference between tapping it and holding it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. But that's it in terms of the layout. There's actually a change in PlayStation where there is no true change in the Xbox. But the load times on both consoles, awesome. Those load times are amazing. You can, in less than a minute, you can get from cold booting your PlayStation straight into Miles Morales jumping around on the screen. Less than 1 minute. Truly next gen. I think it's awesome. I think it's awesome. I think the Xbox takes it a step further with quick resume. Now, quick resume is this feature that allows you, when you're playing 1 game or 2 games or 3 games or 4 games or 5 games, quickly just switch back and forth between them like you would in tabs on a browser. And it doesn't jump back to the game into taking you back to the start menu. It takes you exactly where you stopped playing from. Whether you pause or whatever, you just jump back in. It was a bit out of this world when one day I had to move rooms because they wanted to use the screen in that room. So I paused the game and I shut down the system. And I went to the living room and I plugged it back in and it quick resumed from exactly where I stopped. Not from the home menu, from where I stopped. And this is at cold boot power off. I think that's awesome, right? Sometimes it's a hit or miss, but I think that's pretty cool in my opinion anyway. PlayStation doesn't have quick resume on games, but again, the SSDs are so fast, you probably won't miss it that much. But the Xbox does have that, so keep that in mind when you're making your decision. Another thing to keep in mind is backward compatibility. This is really important if you've been a gamer for a long time, right? The PlayStation's backward compatibility is not really. You're going to struggle with some PS4 games, even at that. PlayStation is not very clear on what it supports, what it doesn't support. It's a limited backward compatibility catalog, right? Let me just put it that way. The Xbox, on the other hand, immediately supports pretty much all the games it had on the Xbox One. Except it has Kinect in the title, which requires Kinect, but everything. It'll even support all the way back to the Xbox 360 and even further back to the original Xbox as it is. And I think that's awesome, right? So if you've been gaming for a while and you don't want to lose that catalog, you have that with this next gen console. You can bring that forward, and some of them will run at even better frame rates, which I think is fantastic, so kudos to Xbox on that one. Sony has never ever quite truly figured out backward compatibility. Might be a business decision on what they've chosen to do, just keep moving forward. I think that one of the executives has said that at some point, but hey, it is what it is. Some people don't want to lose their old catalog. So which side of the fence you're on, that may help you decide what console you want to get. Moving on to storage space, if you're talking about backward compatibility, it takes you to storage space. Now you are paying for the space because of the speed load times. What they do, the trick here is that they use a lot of the storage space as RAM, if you will. And these SSDs are state of the art, they're really fast. So if you have a really fast hard drive, your RAM isn't doing that much work anyway because it's your hard drive acting like random access memory. But the PlayStation hogs a lot of that at the start, leaving you with only about 667 gigabytes. Yeah, about 667 gigabytes of usable space versus the Xbox that gives you about 802 gigabytes of usable space. That's a full game, at least like a Call of Duty game difference. It's a lot from that terabyte they're holding back, but again, it is for your speed. But keep in mind the Xbox does give you more immediately usable space. And we do know what the Xbox expansion card looks like and what it costs, but we don't know what the expansion is going to look like for the PlayStation 5. And plus you have to take your machine apart a bit to put that inside. So there's that. The Xbox will be a bit more convenient since it's plug and play. The PlayStation's got to stick it inside, not to ruin that design we've created or whatever. Good job, PlayStation. Moving forward, how do we interact with next gen? The controllers, right? Again, the Xbox has gone for, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The not aligned analog sticks, the classic comfortable hold, it's still there. If it's something you love, then it's still there. They haven't taken that away. Unlike the PlayStation, right? The new DualShocks are completely different, redesigned top to bottom, new haptics engines that make you feel things almost like HD Rumble, but the difference, you can actually feel them. And the one way to really experience this is in Astro. If you're stepping on glass, on metal, you can tell the difference. Yeah, I know it feels a bit nerdy, but you can. The vibrations are that accurate. And then the triggers are adaptable in the sense that they can tension up based on what you're squeezing. So if you're pulling a bow, it feels like you're actually pulling a string, and they can even lock you out of shooting. Like when you want to play Call of Duty, they can make this thicker or harder to push down depending on the weight of the gun or the strength of the trigger and so on. So there's next gen interaction here. It has a microphone and a speaker. So if you're playing shooters, right, you can interact with this pad alone. Well, you gotta be somewhere here, I suppose. But still, you don't need that extra headset, and it has a mute button right on the mic, on the controller. So again, they've sort of looked ahead and said, this is what the next gen controller should be. And they put in a lot of features. And I think it's really cool, right? But I still don't think it's as comfortable as the Xbox pad, shoot me. I think the reach here, when you wrap your finger around, if you have long fingers like mine, they end up in this corner, and there is a corner. It's actually a sharp corner. So if you play for a while, over an hour or two, you start to feel the pressure on your bottom finger here. So I think there'll probably be, if you have shorter fingers, it's fine. But personally, for me, the Xbox controller is a bit more comfortable, but these are way more advanced in terms of new features for next gen. And that's it. Those are all the key things I think that can make or break your decision in getting your next gen console. They're both really good consoles depending on where you are on the fence in the first place. If you're a total gamer and you're playing both, good for you, buy them both. If not, let me know what influences your decision in terms of buying power in the comments below. I'll see you in the next video. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Thanks a lot, guys. Take care.